Hello, Christians. This is Reverend Dr. Katie. I hope this day finds you with a little bit of joy and a little bit of humor. And I will tell you a little bit about my humor because it needs to be off the charts today. I woke up today and the barometric pressure here is really low. We have tons of energy coming in, tons of energy. There's a full moon coming up. Check the time. It will either occur late Sunday or early Monday, or if you're in the United States. If you're elsewhere, it'll be a little bit later on. And that aligns with the solar eclipse that's in Leo, big energy, like this big fire energy. There's just a ton going on. So I woke up this morning and just kind of felt myself low energy. Like all this stuff is coming in. Last week, the energy started affecting me really early. Last week, my calendar was off. I was traveling. My Google Calendar went from Pacific time to Central time, and I was like in the grocery store when I was getting an important call. I managed to have it, and I called someone else at the wrong time, and then I missed a flight. Like the energy is just going nuts right now. So you know what? Sometimes all you can do is laugh and just roll with it, go with it, and let it bring us on up wherever we're going. So I just have a couple of things for you today. Really, the primary purpose of this video is just to answer questions. We got some really interesting questions the past couple of days, so I want to address those. I want to make sure that everyone knows about the free training coming up on discovering your gifts as a metaphysical Christian. That is this Monday, not uncoincidentally aligning with the eclipse. So we want to ride that eclipse energy. And it's playing tricks on me now, so I'm just laughing at it a little bit. And just when I was getting on to do this video, I clicked like start the live video, and I realized I was in the wrong group. I was in one of my other groups, and so I went ahead and did a live video for them. So, what can you do? Just to help ground me, I make sure that we are all on the same page here. I have this nice dark grounding crystal, and it's really beautiful. I just love this so much. I will tell you a little story about it. It's this quartz. It's kind of got this yellowish tinge to it. It's not that clear quartz, and they're fairly rare, very beautiful. Where I got them, they're kind of like in a case. They didn't just have them laying out, and I thought I had lost it and was a little upset about that. It's almost the same color as my carpet, and so the other day I found it on the carpet and snagged it probably just at the right time. So I'm going to answer questions. We have lots of good questions coming in about energy, about how we can read energy, how we know if we can sense the energy of God, all of that kind of thing. So we're just going to answer those. I haven't pre-prepared them. I'm just going to let come whatever comes. Before that, I just have daily guidance cards, and I'd love to draw one, not only for me, but for all of us. So for everyone watching, let me invite you just to set your intention to receive the message of this card. We're just going to ask angels under Jesus to guide us to the card that we need the most right now in our daily life, as we're all kind of experiencing this energy. And I've been seeing from lots of you having trouble sleeping, or you're up all night, or I know everyone's energy is going crazy right now. And we're just going to have some fun with it. Okay, so let's see what card will come up. The Law of Attraction, always the right one for us. Okay, I love this one for this this time of year with all this energy. It's be honest with yourself. And this kind of goes along with some of the messages that were coming through from me earlier today too. Look into your heart. You will know the truth of the situation. So I'm going to pause. I will continue with the messages written on the card in a moment. Let me pause. Especially those of you who have been in that kind of struggle, especially with all this energy, that struggle of like, do I reach out? Is this the time for me to make big shifts in my spiritual life? Is it finally time for me to claim the gifts, to claim my power? Then this is the time to look into your heart and discern if it is time for you. It probably is, because you're watching this video and I drew this card for you. It's safe to admit the truth to yourself. And that's what we're all about. I know lots of you feel like it's not safe to claim those gifts. And in this group, we're all about making it available for people, because these are all gifts from God. We will support and guide you through any necessary changes. You are supported, you're totally supported by angels, by guides, by God, by all the creation of God. Lean upon us courage and the strength to take care of yourself. Focus only on your true desires and will come to you upon angels' wings. And I love that. And this card is really encouraging us to tune into our desires and not to our fears. So not letting our fears rule us, but really taking a step forward and faith, taking a leap of faith and moving forward and claiming gifts. I love helping people do that, discover what those are for themselves, setting up that stage for success. So this card is for everyone who's watching this. It doesn't really matter if you're watching this months, years, whatever, after the eclipse, this card is still for you. And that's the way this works. We cut through time and space at lots of different levels. And so you can just trust that that's for you, no matter who you are or what you're doing at this moment in your life. So reach out at any time. Okay, so let me turn to some questions that were asked, and I'm just going to go through them in order. Okay, the first one. Does the universe, I think these are in order, does the universe have a conscience? Does everything that appears to be still have a conscience? Okay, so you guys are not starting off with the easy ones, like are there angels? Where I can be like, yeah, of course there are. Okay, does the universe have a conscience? So I'm gonna just kind of go off the cuff here and separate a few things, and this is not a super formal theological statement. This is kind of me thinking out loud with you and receiving messages will come through, and I'll just trust that they are exactly what needs to be said at the right time. So does the universe have a conscience? We often hear in metaphysical kind of groups the universe as a synonym for God. And I sometimes I do that too. That's okay. Like God, I don't think God cares too much what we call God, as long as we do it, with joy, with respect, in our hearts, as long as it's, coming straight from our souls. So I'm going to separate the universe from God, though, in this particular question, and really approach this as God as the creator of the universe. And I'm going to limit this to the universe that we see, experience, feel, and touch. So kind of moving off into sci-fi land and metaphysical land, are there many dimensions in the universe all at once? Probably. I mean, like even scientists right these days say, yes, that's probably the case. In which case, do all of those have separate consciences? If they all have a conscience, I don't know. I don't know. Is there one, or is there one big one and they all have separate ones? Could be, right? So I'm not sure about that. Where I want to go with this is kind of talk a little bit about the law of attraction. This is something I teach, so if this is appealing to you, reach out to me so we can go a little further. In looking at the law of attraction, we see that all things do work together, right? So the universe, the way that God has created the universe, very much works together through the physical laws of reality, but also through the spiritual laws of reality, through coincidences in our lives. Does it have a conscience, and is it a conscious decision on the part of the universe? I don't know, but I do know that it's all working for our good eventually, and we really need to work with that energy, like I was saying before, not against that energy, so that we can be part of that fabric of the whole. Okay, so does that make sense? Now, as I'm looking at the word more closely, so we have two thoughts here: conscious, like consciousness, and then conscience, like the good angel that tells us, good angel, bad angel, on our shoulders. Conscience, like, do you have a conscience of free will, like, the ability to make good decisions? Does the universe have that? So I think the universe, that the way we're talking about it here, works for the good of all the time, and not backpedaling, not doing it in a way that's against the good of God. Okay, so that's where I'm going to go with that question. And these are really fun philosophical questions to explore. Okay, another one. Someone asked, and this is a great question. We had a separate conversation about this in the thread on Facebook. And just in case you're watching this not on Facebook, come join our group, the Metaphysical Christian. So someone was asking about angelic Reiki. They didn't know it existed, but ran across it in a search and had been thinking about doing Reiki, was asking if anyone knew anything about this. So I'm a Reiki 2 healer myself, plus lots of other modalities, and many of you are as well. And I watch a lot of people actually engage Reiki once they become involved in this group, and many of my clients do as well. So I don't know anything particularly about angelic Reiki, and I didn't want to do a lot of research on that before answering this question. I'm just taking these as they come. But so I'm going to back up and encourage everyone who's watching this that this is really a matter of asking for information is always good, but it's really a matter of like tuning in, and is angelic Reiki right for you? And once we're able to tune into our energy and those laws of the universe and be honest with ourselves, like the card says, then we can kind of to discern, is that right for me or not? What I experience is that many of you don't have a great starting place. Like, this is also new, and the metaphysical world doesn't always talk about Jesus in the same way we do as a savior. And so it's hard to even know like where to center or where to ground yourself. And so if you're not quite sure like what direction to go in, then probably maybe back up a little bit. You can always be in touch with me about that. And let's find you your center and can become very grounded, so that then you can reach out and know what modalities are right for you. There's a ton out there. There's a ton. They're all really good. They're not all really good, but there's a lot of really good ones out there. So it's a matter of finding the ones that align the most with you and with your soul purpose. That being said, if anyone practices angelic Reiki, I would love to know, because that's not ever something that I have experienced by that particular name or training. Okay, another question. How do we activate the third eye? So that's a beautiful question. So this goes into the questions of chakras, and chakras are one of the things that I teach. So all my clients and people who work with me, their third eye's all activated. I promise. No one escapes working with me without having some attention to their third eye. So how do we do that? We have to learn how to work with the chakra system. There's tools that we can use. So I offer, for instance, some essential oils. I have a CD that helps people out with art music and with meditation. Those can all aid in opening your third eye. They won't do it by themselves. So that's really done with lots of spiritual practice, with prayer, with attention, with being open to awakening, so that you are ready to receive whatever insights you get as a result of your third eye being open, so that you can go to the next step. So when our third eye is opened, then we are discovering our gifts at a deeper level. We're ready to integrate them, and we're ready to go on and be the amazing healers that we're all called to be. So if you have specific questions on, are you ready to do that? That's what I'm here for. So let me know. So there's no one size fits all. This is something that I help people do through a process. So I don't want your third eye to like, open really wide, and then you receive all this stuff, and then you don't know what to do with it. Right. So make sure that you're in a supportive place to be able to do that. Okay, another question. And this is a really good one. So we're going to see where it takes us. I am wondering, in light of all the paranormal shows that measure energy, temperature, the sound of ghosts, can we do the same for God, angels, and the Holy Spirit? What a great question. And so I don't know much about those machines or what they do. I mean, I know that they exist. I have some colleagues and friends who use them. I'm just not too overly familiar with them myself. So I'm going to answer this question on a couple of levels. So I think God is present in our physical universe, in our physical reality, that we have tangible ways that we experience God through our bodies. We're here on earth in bodies, and I experience the profound love of God for me, for humanity, for others. I do experience that through prayer, right, that I engage my body in when I pray and when I meditate. So that I would say that that's actually one measure. Can we hold an instrument up and measure angel energy or God energy? Actually, I'm not sure. For me, that's not an interesting question. It's not the most important question, because we have lots of other measures for law of attraction, for the role of God in the universe, for how we experience the love of God, the love of Christ. When people do have angelic encounters, they report, warmth, they report joy. I would say that we actually, like, you are the barometer for these measurements. I also think that there's a part of God that exists outside of our physical reality. So there's a part of God that no instrument can ever measure, because God is the creator of everything, and God exists in part, or maybe in whole outside and in whole inside our physical realities. And so the heartbeat of God exists in all of us. And I think part of that also exists outside of what we can experience. And is when we enter all together, in the great beyond, the presence of God, and we are are all singing, the book of Revelation says we are all singing in a chorus together, then we'll know that total complete joy of being in God's presence, unencumbered by anything else. And so it's like here we're in our training camp, and then we'll go and be with God at some point, and we're all working towards that same goal together. So I love your question, and if anyone invents the machine that can do this, hey, let me know. I'll be an investor in that. What a great question. Thank you for that really, really good question. Okay, and the last one is how to reconcile scripture where it says not to consult fortune tellers or mediums who also have the gift. So great question. Many of you participated in the free Bible study that we had a couple of months ago that helped contribute to some of my research as a New Testament scholar. And so we did just explore the medium of Endor. So let me talk about that one first. You find this in the book of 1 Samuel. Cannot remember the chapter and verse off the top of my head, but it's in 1 Samuel. If you Google this, you'll find it. The story is so interesting. Our Bible study had a great time when we explored it, because Saul, the first king of Israel, had kicked out all the fortune tellers, mediums, necromancers. There's a bunch of different vocabulary, all those people out of the land, but one woman remained. And Saul actually goes to her to consult her, and when he does, the spirit or the ghost of the prophet Samuel shows up. The story is full of a lot of humor because Saul is consulting one of the very people that he had kicked out of the land of Israel. When we explored the story, we found zero, and I mean zero, even tone in the story that has a problem with her. The problem here is all with Saul. And when he consults her, she's obviously legitimate, right? Like the Samuel shows up, and he has kind of a not nice message for Saul, because Saul keeps on screwing all of this up. So I think probably what many of you are wondering about, though, is the verse in Deuteronomy. So I can talk about that just really, really, really briefly. The book of Deuteronomy is written very late in the history of the Torah and the first books of the Bible. And it is written by people who are very interested in legal codes. And they are living not in Israel, but abroad. They have been forcibly removed and exiled into other lands. And so probably at its heart, those verses about not consulting fortune teller, or these words are, we don't always know what these words mean, so be aware of that as well. But the verse about not consulting those people is also asking people not to go to other religious professionals outside of the Israelite ethnic and religious group. And so I think that that's part of that, whereas today we don't really have we don't have those lines in the same way that ancient Israelites did. Christianity and even Judaism today is multi-ethnic, thank goodness, multinational, thank goodness. We've gone global in this day and age, and so we don't have that same kind of particularism that ancient Israel did. So that's kind of one answer. And of course, you find that this very much contrasts the portrait of the medium in 1 Samuel. I do want to say very quickly about fortune telling, because that comes a lot with, I get a lot of questions, comments about this in a group about the wisdom or not wisdom of seeing into the future. None of you can predict the future 100%, nor should we try. That's not what we're here for. Rather, I can say with probably 99% confidence that I hold up this stone, and I'm not going to drop it on my desk. If I hold up this stone and drop it, it will fall. And yes, it did, right? Based on lots of observation. I can reasonably predict the next week of my life based on past experience. Can I predict it 100%? No, of course I can't. Anything can happen, right? So when we talk about the future, many of you have had like prescient dreams when you are able to sort of know for certainty that something, or know with some degree of certainty that something is going to happen, or when something happens, you have that feeling of deja vu. You've actually not predicted the future. You have tapped into the one possible future that happened. See the difference? The future is always changeable depending on our actions. It always is. We can never predict the future with 100% certainty. So even when we go to people who do have this gift, they're telling you a range of possibilities and probabilities, not the like for certain things that will happen, because that's, the future is maybe not wide open, but in a sense it is wide open, right? So we can change our direction at any time. This is part of what I love about living in the freedom of Christ. As Christians, we believe deeply in the freedom of Christ, and we experience that. And one of the things I really love about that is that we always have the power, to the grace, to be able to change, to stop destructive behavior, and to live into something new. So, when we watch destructive behavior, we can say probably with certainty, if you continue this particular behavior, drinking too much addiction to anything, it will lead you down this particular path, right? That's just kind of some common sense. We can observe that, observable behavior, but we also know that with the power of Christ in our lives, with the power of grace, with radical forgiveness, we can change directions. And so let me actually turn this around just a little bit, because those of you who have been fearful of discovering your gifts, it makes you like your heart race, and you've been worried. You're worried those are not of God. You're worried that mediumship, for instance, isn't of God, that you're aligning with forces of evil. Then it's, you actually have the power and opportunity with the freedom of Christ to choose a new direction and to really do that deep soul work to find out where this does align with God, and to move forward in Christian mission and in Christian service to offer your gifts to the world. And I love that. That's just so beautiful. And that's what I love helping people do. Okay, so that is today the answers to all these questions that came up. We started with a little grounding work, with a little card reading. This is the be honest with yourself. So I encourage everyone to take this to heart, to investigate what is going on with you. Tap into this energy. We have lots of energy coming up. I want to invite everyone to the free training on Monday, the webinar on discovering your gifts, empowering yourself, and lighting yourself up. And then when you do that, you also light up the world. It's been great to be with you, and I will see everyone pretty soon.